Hello again, everyone. I'm here today with a new to me fountain pen that I'm really excited about. So this is a Franklin Christoph. Now I do have one other Franklin Christoph fountain pen, but I purchased it off of a buy-sell trade group for a little bit less than their retail prices, and I had been visiting their website regularly, kind of trying to see what model I might want to get for another one, because I specifically wanted to get one of their custom grinds on their nibs. So this one came up, and I just really thought that this was perfect. So this is in the antique glass color, and it is the model 45, I believe. Let me double check and make sure. Yes, it is the model 45 in antique glass. And so this is sort of a pocket pen essentially, but when you post it, it becomes like a regular size fountain pen, really. And the other one that I have is actually a 45 large, so it's a little bit bigger than that. And I've probably shown it on the channel, but I don't have it handy here. It's in another room right now. Otherwise, I would compare the two. So Franklin Christoph doesn't always have the same colors, so they tend to rotate the colors and the models that they have them on, but this is essentially a plastic pen that is made to look like sort of an antique glass. And on the inside, I have turned this into a dropper fill pen, which this particular model could only be a dropper or a cartridge pen. A converter will not fit because of the small space here. So I converted it to a dropper fill and filled it with ink. And then the nib, which is super exciting, is a broad cursive italic by Nagahara. So they recently changed who is doing their custom grinds. It used to be Masuyama who was doing their custom grinds, and I have no experience with those because I wasn't able to get one. He left or retired, I think, before I was able to get one of their specialty grinds from one of the people that actually make their specialty grinds. So this one is Nagahara. So I don't know. I know there's, some debate as to Masuyama versus Nagahara, but I don't have any experience with the Masuyama ground nibs, but this one is beautiful. It is my favorite custom nib as of the time that I first wrote with it. It's beautiful. It's so funny because I gave it to my husband to try writing with it, and he was like, "Oh, this feels a little scratchy," and I was like, "What are you talking about? It is like perfect." I don't find it scratchy at all. So, and he's relatively new to fountain pens. So I've been trying to get him into them, and with some varying success. He still loves his really cheapy pens. So, but anyway, but this grind is lovely. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do a little writing sample here and tell you what this is. So I inked this up with Ink Institute's Wensheng Puchan tea, which I think is how you pronounce that. Again, if I butcher any of these things, it's not my intent. It's just that's how it reads to me when I read it. So I'll go ahead and show you. I may end up putting a different ink in here, but this ink actually flows so well in this pen. It's actually a really, really great ink. And I wanted something sort of green, but you can kind of see. So the glass is somewhat clear, but also, tinted green. So it's really pretty. And then there is the Franklin Christoph, laser etching up here. And then there is also their symbol up here at the top there. So this came with a couple of cartridges, but again, I just immediately dropper converted it. And so let me tell you a little bit about that before I go ahead and write. So, but by dropper converting it, I mean I put a little bit of silicone grease around these threads here, not these threads, but the threads that where the bottom attaches. I put some silicone grease around there, and then I just dropper filled the ink down into the pen, and then I put this bottom piece back on, and because of the silicone grease, it prevents the ink from leaking. I noticed that Franklin Christoph has a video on their website where they also recommend putting silicone grease on the bottom of the nib, where you can screw it out, like that little piece, so that the ink doesn't leak into this area here. I don't think I really had a problem with it, although now that I'm looking, there might be a little bit of ink here. So in the future, when I do that, I might put additional silicone grease around the bottom of the nib area. But it hasn't leaked out of the pen generally, but as I said, I think I can probably see a little bit of ink gathering up in here. So that's why they recommend to put it in both places. So this paper that I'm using is the Nemacine paper. As usual, there's like dog fur all over everything. So this is a Nemacine notebook, and then I have it in this little Galen zip folio. And let's go ahead and write this up here. So this is the Franklin Christoph Model 45. And this is a Nagahara broad cursive italic nib, which is absolutely beautiful. And then the ink I have in here is Ink Institute. I mean, you can definitely hear it. I don't know if you can hear it because the mic's a little far away, but I can definitely hear it on the paper, but it, in my opinion, it glides across. I actually have purchased a couple of other just nibs on their own, custom grinds that I purchased from Peyton Street Pens, and they are unfortunately, they're not this smooth and wonderful. So I'll probably do a separate video on those. So this is Ink Institute. I think it's Wen Shang, maybe that's an S, Puchong T. And then we'll do, I'm going to do this both in cursive. Let's see the, okay. Yeah, I actually had someone get a little weird in a comment on my channel about how there's no such thing as a brown fox. So I was like, well, okay, but I think that's kind of the saying to get every letter of the alphabet in. There's actually a lot of different variants on this little thing, but I just thought that was interesting. I'm not trying to make a statement about the color of foxes or anything. I am just trying to represent every letter of the alphabet. So, okay, so there's that, and it's really meant for cursive. You know, by the name that would be indicative, right? The Cursive Italic Nib. It, if you do a downstroke, it is thicker than the cross stroke. And I generally hold these nibs at sort of a 45-degree angle when I write. So I get, I get a little bit more variation between the thick and thin, but sometimes I will also hold it this way, which will come off as much broader. It's really going to change depending on how you hold it, and it can also be somewhat finer the more you tilt your angle. So there you go. I really, really love this pen. I like that when it is posted, it is a perfect size for my hand. It's very well balanced posted. I really like the color and the material. I kind of went back and forth about getting some of their models that have a pen clip or that have, some ridging or something on the pen itself. But I think that I really like sort of the clean lines of this. I mean, it's sort of like a demonstrator, but it has a little bit of a tint to it, which is nice. They also have, from time to time, they have an Italian ice color, which actually appears clear in some lights and then blue in others. And that's also very pretty. And then there's just sort of like a bottle glass type thing where it's just clear with a little bit of frosting, which I also like quite a bit. But this is actually one of the least expensive models that they have on their website, this 45. But sort of the trade-off is that you cannot have a converter in here. But from my using it, it seems like as a dropper fill, it works quite well. And I've been writing with it a lot, and it's been lovely, and my hand doesn't get tired. I highly recommend the Franklin Christoph brand. And this custom nib is amazing. I have a couple of their SIG, which is the italic gradient nibs. And they're perfect too. I really like those as well. There's a different nib grinder that works for Franklin Christoph, I believe, that does those. But both have been lovely. You cannot currently, as of the time that I'm filming this, you cannot buy the custom grind Nagahara nibs by themselves. But you can get pretty much every other nib as a little nib unit on its own, which kind of makes it nice if you have a pen that you don't like the nib that's on it. Currently, for example, there's a bunch of different pens that are easily swapped out with each other for just the whole nib unit, but you can also take the nibs out and replace them with various nibs if they don't fit in here, as long as they're the right size for the pen. So I think that's it for today. I really have been very impressed with this pen. And I'm sure it won't be the last Franklin Christoph that I buy directly from their website. They actually had a little article or some info on their website that said that if they were to, because that's the main place where they sell their pens, is on their website, and of course pen shows and things like that. But they were saying that if they went through retailers regularly, their pen prices would be much, much higher. So, I mean, there's a lot of craftsmanship and love that goes into this little pen, and they've clearly thought about both the design and feel and functionality of it, so that's really nice. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. I will put a link down below to Franklin Christoph, and I think that's really the only thing that I need to share with you today, but if you have any questions, just let me know. I hope to see you next time. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.